Hey guys, I'm Claire. I've been really slack with doing videos, so it's been a while since I've done one. I think it's been like 2 months. I have been trying to do one, but I feel like I always hate my hair or my skin or something, or I'm like trying to distract my baby. She's really energetic now, so she always needs to do something, so that's why she's with me at the moment. But I wanted to do this video for a while and I never got around to doing it, and then I had a friend message me last night because she was starting to get mastitis and she wanted to know what I did. I got mastitis about 2 months ago for the first time. I think my baby was 5 months. Yeah, she was about 5 months old because she's about 7 months old now. And I hate antibiotics. They're great, like, so don't get me wrong. I don't hate them in the sense that I don't think they work, because they do. And I think they're great in like emergency situations or like for really bad infections and that sort of thing. But they're just something that I kind of don't really like to take unless I like absolutely need to. When I got mastitis, it came on all of a sudden and I thought that I was never going to get it because it had been 5 months of me exclusively breastfeeding and I'd never had an issue. You can either have an infection or not have an infection, but both times with mastitis you can get really sick. So I'll just tell you guys what happened with my experience just so you can kind of get a bit of an understanding of what mastitis is if you haven't had it before and it's something that you want to look out for, or if you've had mastitis before then you'll know, you'll be able to relate. It was a Friday that I got it and I remember that day I was like really stressed out. I had a lot going on that day, and then it got to about maybe like 6 o'clock at night. I ate dinner and then I started to feel really tired. And like, you know how when you're a mum you get tired all the time because you don't get quality sleep, so it's not like I'm not always tired, but this was sort of like it hit me all of a sudden and I just felt really heavy and really fatigued. And I remember just like finishing up dinner and trying to just clean, and we bathed her and like I could barely stand. I had a shower and I noticed that my I don't know why, I think I must have just been so stressed that day that I hadn't noticed that my breast had gotten really swollen. So it was on like my left breast in the middle where like my heart is, and all of a sudden I just got worse. I started to get chills, so my whole body started shaking and I just felt so ill. And I think by then it was around like 7:30. And I was like, I need to go to bed. I can't even stay up. I ended up going to sleep really early that night, which I felt really bad for because my husband works really hard during the week and we don't really get to see him. So Friday nights are great for us because we actually finally get to hang out with him. And I felt so bad because I was so sick that I just wanted to go to sleep. I brought Trinity with me to the room and I just passed out. During that night, I remember like having a fever. So I was kind of waking up. I'd be sweating and I'd take off my blankets and then I'd be cold. So typical of a fever when you're kind of hot and cold. And when I woke up in the morning on Saturday, I felt so sick. You know when you're like so ill, your whole body can't move, you're exhausted, your body's weak and shaky and tired. So that's what I was like on Saturday morning, and I still had a fever. That's when I started to do stuff. So at that point I wasn't really sure yet. I was messaging some friends that had had mastitis before and they said that it was really serious and that I needed to go and get antibiotics. I didn't want to do that yet because, as I said, I don't really like antibiotics. So I just started dosing up on everything that I could to try to support my immune system. That's what I want to talk to you guys about today. If you wanted to try to fight off mastitis naturally, this is how I did it. So there's 2 things that you want to focus on when it comes to mastitis. The first one is unblocking the duct, the blocked or inflamed duct, because mastitis is basically inflamed breast tissue. So you'll usually see like a red patch and it'll be swollen and really sore, and sometimes you might feel like a bit itchy as well. And when your baby feeds, it hurts, like it stings. it's not pleasant. You want to work on unblocking the duct and supporting your immune system, and especially if you're fighting an infection. Not all mastitis is infectious, but I just assumed that I had an infection because I had a fever and I was shaking. The first thing I did with immune support is dose up on absolutely everything that I had in the household. So if you don't have a lot in your house, then just take what you can that you think will support you while you can, and then head to the pharmacy or chemist or whatever, wherever, to try and get some stuff. I'll just quickly show you what I use. I have greens, like a greens powder that I take. It's got vitamins and stuff like that. So anything that like you have in your household that's going to support your immune system. So I took that as usual. But then I started to dose up on, I don't have it now because I've run out of the capsules, but I had capsules that were like echinacea and zinc. And I've also got this echinacea effervescent tablets. I actually was taking these as well as the echinacea. I just dosed up hard on echinacea. If you've got echinacea, I would start dosing up on that. You can get echinacea on its own, or you can get it with zinc like I had, or you can get it with vitamin C. And then I went out and got, because I just don't have vitamin C at home, which is odd, because it's something that you probably like should have, or most people would have. So I got this high strength vitamin C. Again, it's effervescent, so it fizzes when you put it in water. I'm not a fan of effervescent tablets, to be honest, and the only reason I bought these ones is because they were more affordable. And then I looked it up to see what they actually were, and apparently effervescent tablets absorb faster, so that's a plus, which I feel a lot better about, because I never really knew and I wasn't a huge fan of them. So vitamin C, echinacea, greens, and then I've got this cod liver oil as well. I think it's high in vitamin A and vitamin D. It says that it supports healthy mucous membranes of your respiratory tract and digestive system, supports skin health, and it's the first line of defense against infection. So I took these as well because I had them. I wouldn't go out buying spending all your money if you can avoid it, but I would highly recommend getting vitamin C and echinacea if you can't get all of these things that I've got. So those are what I started with as immune support. And I think my husband made me a cup of tea in the morning, just, light stuff. You got to go easy on your body. No coffee or anything like that. I think he made me just like a herbal tea. I ended up going to the doctors just to be safe because it was the weekend and I wasn't sure if I was going to get worse and not be able to see someone. So I went to my doctor and he confirmed that I had a fever, and he confirmed that I had mastitis. He can see the inflammation, and he was really good, because I know some doctors aren't good with checking things and they kind of just give you antibiotics without actually really giving you a proper checkup. So he just said that he was happy with what I was doing as a first line of defense for my body, and he prescribed me the antibiotics as a backup, and he just said to me that he was happy for me to keep going, but to take the antibiotics if I got worse. So I took them home with me. I never ended up taking them, so I still have them as spare just in case I ever get mastitis again. And then what I started to do was take anti-inflammatories, but I do like the natural kind of anti-inflammatories. So a good thing to take if you guys take it is anything that has DHA and EPA, omega-3 fatty acids. I had this krill oil, double strength, 1,000 milligrams. I took some of these for the inflammation for my wrists. If you guys want a vegan option, I just became a rep for Juice Plus as well, and they do this omega blend that's all plant-based and vegan and gluten-free. It's got omega-3, 5, 6, 7, and 9, and they basically the main ingredient is algae, which is what the fish eat to get their sources of omega. So you're basically cutting out the fish and going straight to the source of omegas. So just to run through those again, echinacea, vitamin C, and then anything else that will support your immune system. So green powder, I took cod liver oil, and then anti-inflammatories, so anything with omegas in it. So I took krill oil and my omega blend from Juice Plus. So anything that you can take that's going to help with inflammation, that's great. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about unclogging your blocked duct, because in my opinion, I feel once you've actually unblocked it, it release the swelling, then it'll help the milk flow better and everything else will kind of start to feel better. For me, that's how I felt once I'd unblocked it. Usually with a clogged duct, because I do get them quite often, I can usually get rid of them after 2 or 3 feeds on the same side and just massaging. With mastitis, it was a bit harder, so it took me quite a while. I think it actually took me a whole day. I got mastitis Friday evening, and it took until maybe 5 o'clock the next day on Saturday afternoon until it had actually unblocked. It was quite uncomfortable all day. But the first thing you want to be doing is, whether you're breastfeeding or pumping, you want to be feeding more often than you usually do on the affected side. I would usually feed Trinity, I think every 3 to 4 hours still. I had to feed her every 2 hours instead. I was just feeding her on the same side and each time massaging it. When you're massaging, you want to be massaging in circular motions towards the nipple. So you want to be kind of pushing the lump out towards the nipple so that it can try to break up and be sucked out. So I was doing regular feeds and using gravity. And then the other thing that's good is a hot shower. So just the heat really helps. And for me, I just found it a little bit more comfortable massaging in the shower, because it kind of disguised the pain a little bit for me. So I was doing as much as I could in the shower. And then when I was out of the shower, I was massaging coconut oil on my breasts. Coconut oil I was using because it's antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory as well. So that if I did have an infection or not, I just felt it would probably help a little bit. So just get good quality coconut oil if you're going to use coconut oil. I was doing that and the massaging in the shower in between feeds. After I unclogged the blocked duct, everything else started to feel a lot better. My chills disappeared and my fever disappeared. I would say that I still felt quite run down and tired for the next 4 days. I think it took 6 days till I actually felt better, like from the beginning of getting mastitis. It is kind of something that takes a little bit out of you, and you just want to rest as much as possible and keep continuing all the like vitamins and immune support that you're doing, and rest as much as possible and drink as much water as you can. Obviously, because you're feeding more, you're getting less hydrated. That's pretty much it, guys. So I just did everything that I could to boost my immune system, rested as much as I could, and stayed hydrated as much as possible. And then for my actual breast, I was feeding more often and gravity assisted, so I'd be like leaning over so the boob like is hanging, and then in between feeds I was massaging with coconut oil, or like having a hot shower and massaging in the shower. So those are what I was doing to get rid of mastitis, and they all worked because, as I said, I didn't need to have antibiotics. And then just one more thing before I go, just as a recommendation to help for future, which I started doing, is I got sunflower lecithin. I don't know how to pronounce it. Lecithin comes either through soy or sunflower. It's really common in foods, and I think the main thing is to stop fats from clogging together. I didn't start taking this till after I'd recovered from mastitis, but it helps me, like I've noticed it helps me when I have clogged ducts now. I use sunflower because apparently it's just more natural. It wasn't cheap. I got it from the health food store for like $42, I think. If you're in the US or the UK or wherever, I'm sure you can probably get it cheaper, but in Australia it's around $40. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. If you do have questions, or you just need like a reminder of any of this, or you just want to reach out if you have mastitis and you want a bit of support, I've got my Instagram below, so just send me a DM anytime. That's what my friend did basically. She just DM'd me, and then I kind of talked her through everything. One more thing, guys, actually, I was taking for 2 months since birth a probiotic called Kiara. I can link it below as well. It's supposed to be really good for either preventing mastitis or helping you beat mastitis. It's quite expensive. I was paying, I think, over $80 a month for it, so I had to stop taking it because I just couldn't afford it. But I think that's actually what was preventing me from getting mastitis. The only other tip that I wanted to say to prevent mastitis is just look after yourself, because what I've noticed is that stress brings on blocked ducts, and then stress was also the reason why I got mastitis. So just watch out for yourself. Like if you feel like you start to get overwhelmed and stuff, just take a deep breath, sit down, take a rest. When I say take a rest, obviously as much as you can, because babies aren't always that easy, but I just mean even if you just sit on the couch with your baby and stop doing everything that you're doing, like stop doing chores or whatever, and just have like a nice herbal tea and just try to relax. Just because stress, I think, is a huge trigger for mastitis. So yeah, that's just a little tip from me. I hope that my video was helpful, and I'll see you guys next video.